All righty, we continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. You got Tennessee and Ohio State, a part of the quadruple header this weekend in college football. The winner of that game will go on to play the number one team in the country. They're undefeated. They're Big Ten champions in the Oregon Ducks. And now joining us is their head football coach. We always love when we get him on the show, and that, of course, is Dan Lanning. Coach, first and foremost, congratulations. Appreciate the time, and how you been?
Doing great, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know it's been a few weeks, but I'm still buzzing about what Tez Johnson did in that Big Ten championship game. Planet players make planet plays. Man, he was awesome all throughout that game.
Yeah, it was great to see, Tez dealing with some injuries there at the end of the season, be able to come back and make such an impact for our team. So really proud of him.
You know, you look at all the conference championship games inside the Power Four. When you looked at the matchups, there was at least one school that wasn't in that conference the year before. I know this is the craziness of the sport now where conferences are going to change, but you wonder when you go from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, how the Ducks were going to fare. And I didn't really have concerns, but you guys made it look pretty smoothly, going undefeated and winning the Big Ten. How did you guys do that this year, looking back at it?
Well, I'll say it was certainly a challenge, right? This is a great conference, one that we're thrilled to be a part of. But I thought our guys played consistent football and proved that we can win in multiple ways. And just had enough time to squeak out some wins and win some tough games. So it was a lot of fun for us being in a historic conference like the Big Ten, being able to pull things together like we did. But really proud of our guys' performance so far.
You know, it's only your third year on the job, but you have increased the expectations at Oregon. And you look going into the Big Ten, there was a narrative heading in with you. It was like, oh, he didn't beat Washington twice last year. Can he win the big game? You guys took care of Ohio State this year, and you also took care of Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. Did you think that narrative was valid? Do you think it's like laid to rest after winning the Big Ten, or do you still feel people are down you?
Who cares, right? But I'll say ultimately, the results are the results. You can't argue with wins and losses, and we control the narrative, right, by what we do. So, so far our team's been able to do that, and that's been awesome.
I also thought it was great, too, when you guys go in with high expectations, right? Championship or bust expectations before the year. I know you guys want to blow everybody out, right? In an ideal world, you win every game by 40 points. But the first two games of the season, how you kind of had to fight, scratch, and claw, I think that could, I'm not saying your group needed it, but maybe you humble a group a little bit and kind of reset what the main thing is. Just how do you look back at the first two games of the season and how it kind of laid the foundation for what you guys have been able to accomplish so far?
Yeah, I think most of the people in the world truly don't have self-awareness. I think that was a great moment for us to have some self-awareness where we can improve, what we can do better. You played some good teams early on that ended up having great seasons as their seasons went on as well. But we identified some issues that we needed to improve on, and really throughout the process of the season, proved that we can win in multiple ways. So, great growth moments for us, and certainly moments that we grew from.
Now you're getting used to going to the Heisman Trophy. How was that experience once again, getting to see one of your players be a finalist?
Yeah, you always hope that, through team accomplishment, individuals start to get recognized. And, Dylan's certainly a deserving player, is one of the best players in college football, and glad that he's on our team. But he definitely deserved those moments. And I think he'd be the first to tell you he wouldn't be there without the guys around him that helped make that possible.
You know, I was actually talking to Coach Chris Peterson the other day, and we were talking about your Oregon Ducks as Dan Lanning is here with us, the number one team in the country. They're in a bye this week. And he said if he was doing a draft out of all the players in college football, he would actually take Dillon Gabriel first. He thinks he's the best player in the country. So you said one of the best. When you hear that from Coach Peterson with all he's accomplished, just what comes to mind there?
Well, I think Coach Peterson knows what he's talking about, right? We're blessed to have Dylan on our team, the experience he has, the poise he has in big games. I feel like he shows up in those moments more than anything. And we're blessed that we get the opportunity to go to work with him every single day. He's obviously been a game changer for us.
And this is back-to-back years, right? We saw what Bo was able to do for 2 years in your program. Now we see what Dylan's able to do. The transfer portal, I kind of call it like speed dating. You think you maybe get into something great. Sometimes it ends up being that case. Sometimes it doesn't. How did you know, even with all the impressive film that he had at Oklahoma and UCF, that Dillon Gabriel was the right next guy for your program?
Well, I think more than anything, you fall in love with the person, right? And Dylan came in here with the right approach of getting to know his teammates, working his tail off to earn their trust, build connection with those guys. And the play speaks for itself. Dylan's obviously an elite player, great accuracy, great decision maker. So all those things have added together to equate to a great football player for us.
Do you still feel like he gets disrespected? I know you could say, who cares? But You just went through this with Bo, who had a great season. Everyone's like, I don't know how he's going to be as an NFL quarterback. Ends up going 12th overall, having a pretty damn good season. Do you still sense that kind of similarity? Like, man, the same thing that happened with Bo is happening with Dylan right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think our guys operate with a chip on their shoulder, and that's okay, right? You see Dylan, he's probably doesn't get all the recognition that he deserves, but I know this, Dylan came into it not looking for individual accolades; he looked for team success, and that's why he's playing football. So we're proud to have him on our team. He deserves every bit of praise that comes his way, and I think he'll continue to perform for us down the stretch here.
I saw you pop up on my screen last night on doing the Prime Video spot. It was a very cool moment with you and Tony Gonzalez. I know things didn't go Bo's way last night in terms of getting the win up against a very good Chargers team with Coach Harbaugh, but just how proud are you of Bo to see what he's been able to do pretty much through his entire first season in the league?
Yeah, you can't put it into words. You talk about your dream and your vision for a player, but right now proof's in the pudding for what Bo's doing in the National Football League. He's playing at a really high level, and we're certainly proud of him.
You know how it goes in this business. We just focus on coaches and we just focus on quarterbacks. But I look at a player like Jordan James. I know he was good for you guys last year, but now having more opportunities, there was always high expectations for him. How did you know entering this season that you could trust him in increasing that workload in a big time way?
It probably starts with what Jordan does at practice. He practices insanely hard. He works his tail off to be great every week, and he's a physical runner. But his mentality, on the practice field, that always carries over to games. And he's always been a great practice player. But to see that show up on game day for us has been huge.
Coach, I want to take you back to the offseason when there was rumors that maybe you would be going to Alabama and you put out that video and you said it means something to be an Oregon Duck. I wanted to ask you this, Coach Dan Lanning. What does it mean in your mind with the way that you're building this program and leading this program to be an Oregon Duck?
I still wake up and pinch myself that I get to be the head coach here. And I'll never take for granted that they gave me that opportunity. I probably wasn't the most popular pick whenever that came out. And it's certainly been a blessing for me and my family. And we're just really grateful for that opportunity to get to coach here in a place that's so special. And it's certainly exceeded my expectations. So thrilled that we get that chance.
You say you weren't the most popular pick. Why do you think, looking back, you were the right pick?
Who knows that I was? I think there's a lot of great coaches that can do a lot of the things that I'm doing. But what I'm really blessed to have here is an unbelievable staff, great players, an organization that has alignment from top to bottom, really believes in a process. And because of that, it's certainly paid off.
It's funny. When you get a job like Oregon, you wouldn't be expecting so many people to try to get you to leave. Oregon's a great job, but you've been through this now numerous cycles, whether it was Auburn or it was Alabama. And now once you go through all the colleges, they're like, oh, Dan Lanning may be going to the NFL and there's NFL interest. I know it's nice to have that interest in you because it means you're doing things that are successful, but has that ever crossed your mind, Coach, just wondering about maybe one day coaching in the NFL?
It used to be a goal of mine. It certainly did. But I think at this point, everybody can realize that I'm not going anywhere. So I love what we have here. I've got 3 young boys that love Eugene. We have a lot of unfinished business here that we hope to handle, and I'm enjoying the ride. So this will be the place that I'm coaching for a long, long time, as long as I continue to do my job.
I don't want to say that there's time off because I know you guys are gearing up for your first college football playoff game, but you do have a layoff from the Big Ten championship game to your first game. How do you kind of manage that? Just wondering as a coach.
Yeah, ultimately, it's about how you use your time. Early on in this process, we were really able to focus on us, do a deeper dive into our program, what things we did that were really good, what things we did that we can improve on, and then give us an opportunity to kind of look ahead at future opponents and prepare for the teams that we could be playing here down the stretch. So I think we've utilized that time really well. We got practice this morning. We're about to go hop out there and do some prep for Tennessee, and then tomorrow we'll be doing some prep for Ohio State, and then by the end of the night, we'll know who we're playing and be ready for it.
Wrapping up with Dan Lanning. So we've been talking about this playoff forever. Now we know it goes from 4 to 12. You guys are getting ready to participate. You'll find out who you'll get coming up Saturday after Ohio State plays Tennessee. Just for what it means to the sport of college football, you now being one of the faces of college football at a major program. Just what are your thoughts on the college football playoff going from 4 to 12 and it being finally here?
Well, I think it's certainly exciting for fans, and it's going to be a fun process to be a part of something that the first ever, right? So this is a historic season. We're thrilled that we get the opportunity to be in it, and hope that we get to continue to play some of our best football here down the stretch.
I think I know the answer to this question before I ask it, but I have to ask it anyway. Dan Lanning, with Coach Nick Saban no longer in the sport, Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL, we're trying to figure out who's the next face of college football. And right, we've thrown out Coach Prime. Kirby Smart with what he's done has obviously been in that conversation, but your name has come up a lot this year. Is that something that you ever think about that, hey, if you win a national championship this year, obviously you want that for your kids and your program, but you could be viewed as the guy and the face of the sport of college football moving forward?
There's a lot of better coaches out there than me. I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and we've got college football is exciting right now. I think anybody that watches the sport would recognize that there's some unbelievable programs, unbelievable coaches, unbelievable players in the sport. So we're just thrilled to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this as well, Coach. When it comes to the transfer portal right now, I could sit out there and say, hey, it would be nice if the portal didn't open up until after the national championship game. But then I understand the academics and the school calendar as well. Is there anything that we could do to fix this system? Because it is unfortunate when you got guys that are in playoff games that have to not get that experience, even if they're not playing, and go into the transfer portal.
Yeah, I think ultimately, looking at ways to bump the season up to where it finishes closer to the end of term, into January 1st. If the season finished then and then opened the portal afterwards, I think that would solve a lot of problems. I think it's really tough on some of these players that have decisions to make and want to be a part of championship runs, but also need to be able to figure out what's next for them. So if we could finish the college football season and then roll into a portal window and give guys an opportunity to still be able to get into another team before the semester starts, I think that would be a big benefit. But ultimately, that means we need to move the calendar up a little bit, a little less dead time at the end of the year. And in my mind, a lot of that makes sense.
So that would be fine with you if, let's say, you started the regular season 2 weeks in advance of when you usually start it now.
Yeah, or not had 20 days or 30 days until your next game. We played a championship game at the beginning of December, and now you wait till January 1st for your next game. I think a lot of those windows could be closed. There's more time here now than necessary in my mind.
Last thing I'll ask you, there's so much talked about your team. So many people learn about your team. There'll also be a lot of people who haven't seen your team play that just tune in for the college football playoff. So we know so much about your team, but just wondering, what's one thing you want to share about the Oregon Ducks that maybe, it's an individual player or it's a unit that people that you kind of think people don't give enough credit to?
Well, I think a lot of our players are overlooked. But I'll say this, what makes our team special is how much they love each other, how connected they are. And they play really hard for each other. They're not really concerned with the opinions of others. And that's one thing that I really love about this group is they just go out there and work every day, and they have some goals in mind. They have some things they want to accomplish.
Well, Coach, congratulations once again on the Big Ten championship. Good luck, whoever your opponent may be, and we appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach. Have a good one.